Hello YouTube, this is EddieBones13, coming back with another knife video. It's been a while. I did a couple generic videos on my phone, a cash card and Camilla's video. This is sort of like that, being that my setup I'm using to do this review is kind of a homemade makeshift studio in my bedroom. But it works, a lot of shadows, and I cannot get close-ups at all. The zoom and the focus do not work very well. So I'm using a Samsung 16.4 megapixel camera. Now the pictures it takes is phenomenal, but the video is lacking, or the user is lacking. One of the two. Anyway, I'm doing these knife videos on production knives that I collect. I've been collecting for about 1.5 to 2 years now. And I don't have the funds built up yet to get customs. I know makers, not personally, but I know the kind of work they do, the kind of knives I would like. I know blade stills pretty well. I know knives. I know their locking mechanisms, and I know what I like in a knife. So I'm basically doing these videos for novice or beginner entry-level knife collectors and users, to help them decide if they actually like the knives that they're interested in. Today we have the CRKT Hootenanny. This is a wonderful, wonderful knife designed by Ken Onion for CRKT collaboration. To date, this has got to be my favorite Ken Onion design for CRKT. Just superb lines, superior lines on this knife. The flipping action is superior as well. It rides on IKBS ball bearing system that's right in here. With that oversized pivot, it's just phenomenal, the flipping action. The pocket clip, awesome. It kind of follows the lines of the knife coming up and around. It's not too deep, but not too, doesn't stick out too much as well. It's got a nice gap in there for any kind of pants. Gives you a little purchase to grab the knife out of your pocket, being that there is no lanyard on this knife. It's got a nice backspacer. It's almost like a gear pattern. The handle scales, I believe the backspacer is the same as the handle scales. It's a GRN, which is a glass reinforced nylon, and it's hard to see in this camera, but there's actually like fish scales on here. Yeah, the pattern is like fish scale. You can kind of pick it up a little bit there, but it's kind of hard. The material is really slick, I got to tell you. But with all the added jimping and the lines of this knife, your hand just fits phenomenally in it. You can see the back gear type backspacer kind of gives you a little jimping. It's got jimping up on the spine, upper spine of the knife, as well as the flipper. The flipper tab, I got to tell you, is a little small. It does have some jimping, but the detent on this knife is very tough. It's phenomenal. I love it. So, and I'll show you that in a second. You have to give it some effort to pull down, but when you do, it flies out. So I think the flipper tab is lacking a little. I wish it was sticking out just a touch farther to give you a little more purchase. You can see your finger just kind of slips off there sometime, even with that jimping. You cannot push button this knife. It is a light switch, so you're going to want to pull down. And when doing so, your finger may slip off because there's just not enough to grab onto. But if you really hold it tight and give it a good pull, it will fly out of there fast. It's also they're calling it a frame lock. I'm not sure. I don't know. It is a frame lock, I guess, the way it's designed like that. But if you look closely, it looks more like a liner lock that's thick. So you got the frame is very thin, and it comes into like this frame lock upper, maybe a subframe lock. I don't know. Anyone that feels that they know a little bit better about these, maybe comment below on what you think about this. The centering on this knife is very good, actually, for a production knife. You can see that up through here, it's dead on. The problem is when you get to the bottom, it kind of leans to the left, the blade, and I don't know if that's just, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's how it was designed, but it is pretty good for a production knife. I have to say it's nice and centered all the way up, all the way through. Yeah, so it looks like the close position on this knife is, you're looking at about 4.59 inches. So good, still good length for, you know, I wear large to extra large gloves, and it fits my hand perfect. Let's go ahead and open up this knife and take a look at the blade. There it is. Opens with authority. I love it. The blade is absolutely gorgeous. It is a drop point blade. It's got a little belly down here. Good for slicing and I would say piercing. It doesn't have the thickest blade, but it's just perfect. It gets a little thinner down here at the bottom, you can see, but I can tell you that it still will pierce very well, and its slicing capabilities are phenomenal. See how it says CRKT there? You flip it over to the other side. If I can get this on the camera, the lights are kind of bad here. It does say Hootenanny, Canadian design. It's got the IKBS ball bearing symbol up there in the corner. And I absolutely love this blade. It's phenomenal. What I would say is that you know, out of a 1 to 5 rating, the blade to me is a 5. It's phenomenal. You got all this jimping up here in this finger choil, so you can choke up on it. You got this nice, not too sharp but not too subtle jimping right here that just really holds your thumb well. And if you'd like, they even threw some jimping up on the spine right there of the blade, and you can really choke up on this knife and get a good grip. And you can see how much knife I actually have left. When you get back on that knife, it's really a good grab. Like I said, I wear a large to extra large glove, and my hand just fits this knife phenomenally. I love it. You can choke back a little bit on like that, and the grab is phenomenal. I do have to tell you that the blade length you're looking at is about 3.34 inches. So perfect EDC size, I think. This is my favorite size for an EDC knife. You know, people that know me know I'm not much of a outdoorsman. You know, I've been camping. We go to the mountains. We go, you know, this past Labor Day, we were up in Mount Evans, you know, barbecuing, started a fire, that kind of stuff. But, you know, as far as batoning with these kind of knives and doing heavy work, I don't know how they work or how they would last or function. I leave that to my fixed blades, but I know for everyday carry, the kind of tasks I use it for, cutting rope, boxes, plastic, paper, some food prep, maybe even, it works very good. Again, let's look at this lockup here. The lockup is phenomenal as well. You're looking at probably 20-30% lockup there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it is phenomenal. It's a little early, which I love. You barely have to give any push on this, and the blade closes right up, and you can see that it just falls right on itself. The action on this knife is great, you guys. So I'd say out of a 1 to 5, I would give this knife a 4.5. The 4.5 being because the flipper tab is just a little small for me. My fingers tend to slip off it when I try to open it, but if you really grab it, it opens up with authority. So yeah, I mean, there's really not too much more to say about this knife. I know Canadian had originally designed this knife to be a bird/hunting knife, also with everyday carry possibilities. So, you know, it's multifunction depending on what you want to use it for. I just love the look of it. It's just a beautiful, sexy looking knife. The lines are phenomenal, the shape. I can tell you that besides the GRN glass reinforced nylon handle scales, the rest of the knife, I believe, is 2 CR13. So you're getting a 2 CR13 stainless steel lockup on your blade, and your blade, I believe, is, and I'm pretty positive on this, is 8 CR13 MOV. You know, with the 58 to 60 HRC hardness on that. So, you know, it's going to hold an edge, keep an edge pretty well, and, you know, rub a little WD-40 on it or something. It'll keep that rust off there. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, it's going to rust, but, you know, it's a good mediocre blade seal, for a, you know, mediocre mid-grade knife. And I got to tell you, the price on this knife is right around $45. You can't beat it. So overall, like I said, I'll give this knife a 4.5. It's almost perfect to me. I love the way it feels in my hand. It's great. It just fits my hand so well. And I love flicking it. I love opening and closing this knife. It just falls on right on its own weight of the blade, and the flipping action is just fast. I mean, it's hard to even keep up with the camera. It just is phenomenal. I mean, it's almost like an assisted opening. To me, it's faster than some of my assisted opening knives. So, yeah, I definitely recommend this knife. I would give it a shot. You're looking at about 4.8 ounces in weight. So, again, perfect EDC carry. It is made in China, but, there's a lot of nice knives coming out of China right now. You got Riot Knives, amongst other companies that are doing some great Chinese stuff right now. I think we got to look past all that sweat labor of children making, stuff in China and stuff, and actually look at some of the quality they're producing. CRKT is a well-known company, and they would not send their stuff, especially with a Kin Onion name on it, over to China if it wasn't going to be well made. So, oh, sorry, I bumped the camera there. So I do recommend this knife highly. I think anybody looking to purchase the CRKT Hootenanny is on the right track. It is a good knife, and very smooth, very nice opening. And yeah, I recommend you get out and buy this knife. And kind of see that fish scale pattern there. And it is a little slick, like I said, but once you get this in your hand, it locks in tight because of that jimping. Very well designed. So yeah, get yourself out there. $45. Get yourself out there and buy one of these. I recommend going to Knife Center or Blade HQ, or even your local knife retailer, and depending on what state you're in. So yeah, get out there, buy one of these. I highly recommend it. Eddie Bones 13 out.